So in this video, we're going to discuss sailboats versus powerboats.
But first, we want to thank the people who used our floor plan tool for the boat and gave us feedback about it. And those of you who left donations, thank you a lot. It really does help. If you don't know what the floor plan tool is, I'll put a link to the video right here, so you can go check it out.
And thank you, Sailing Salty Mermaid, for the mention the other day.
Alright, so let's jump into it. Why a video on sailboat versus powerboat? Well, when we first started researching sailing, we were brand new. I mean, we're still new, but we knew nothing. And as part of that, I figured it was worth my time to research powerboats. I just wanted to know the options out there, what we weren't choosing. We made a list of 11 different things where we contrasted the sailboat versus the powerboat, pros and cons of each. And I guess the idea here is to help inform you if you're not yet decided if you want to go sail versus power, maybe there'll be some information here that might help you. And there'll definitely be some information in the comments from the experts who watch.
So powerboats are less physically demanding and are kind of like driving an RV. All you have to do is point in the right direction.
Yeah, and with sailing, it's more physically involved. You have to do things like trim the sheets, change sails. If you're going upwind, you have to tack, and this could all be in adverse, conditions. So sailing's a lot more physically demanding.
Second point is required experience. Powerboat is the winner.
Yeah, this sort of goes hand in hand with the previous point, but with sailing, it's more involved. There's more experience required to do it successfully, efficiently, and safely. So it's easier to hop on board a powerboat and actually be effective than it would be a sailboat, and probably safer too, if you don't have experience.
Point 3. Point 3 is speed. Powerboat wins again.
Yeah, this might seem obvious, but it's actually a little bit nuanced. Powerboats, because of their engines, can go faster than the wind, and they can go when there is no wind. But the problem is that powerboats still have the same hull speed limitations, and anything faster than the hull speed is going to be highly inefficient. So boats that you would be living aboard, things like trawlers and whatnot, they're going to be most efficient at traveling near their hull speed, which is going to be pretty similar to what the sailboat's going to be moving at if there's wind. Yes, they can go faster than their hull speed and use up the fuel efficiently if they choose to. Powerboat's definitely the winner here, but it's not like a clear, obvious, hands down win.
Point 4
is?
Point 4 is layout and openness. Winner is powerboat.
I'll preface this by saying personal preference might cause you to disagree, but when it comes to powerboats, they have more flexibility with regard to how they design it. They tend to be more boxier and have more interior space. Sailboats are necessarily built sturdily. They have to be able to transfer the force of the wind in through the water and create forward motion. And that really sturdy, structurally robust engineering tends to create space limitations in sailboats that you don't see in powerboats. This is somewhat mitigated with catamarans. That being said, a power catamaran still could probably have a lot more room than a sail catamaran.
Point 5 is communications. There's no winner here. It's a draw.
We researched this back and forth, and it might seem obvious that a sailboat's the winner here because they have the tall mast, and for line of sight communications like VHF, the tall mast is going to be highly beneficial. But when it comes to communications like satellite, then having a mast and having a sail can actually be a problem due to the mast shadow. So for satellite communications, having a powerboat with no mast and no sail to get in the way is actually a little bit more advantageous.
Point 6 is cost. Sailboats are the winner.
Talking more about maintenance costs, the actual purchase price is highly variable based on which boat you're going to buy, what model, how it's outfitted, and whatnot. So purchase cost between a powerboat and a sailboat is all over the board based on what you're buying. But when it comes to usage, how much it costs to keep, use, and maintain the boat, sailboats win here. Maybe just barely. I'd be curious to get your guys' feedback on this. From everything that we've read in our experience, yes, sailboats have more things to maintain. They have both standing rigging, running rigging, sails, and a motor to take care of. And because they're harnessing the force of the wind, that can wear on the boat a lot. But with sailboats, you can get around from point A to point B, if you use the wind, largely free, with hardly using your engine at all. And the cost of fuel for powerboats is not insignificant. So, on reading forums and researching as much as we could, it seemed to be that the cost of fuel outweighed the cost of maintenance on a sailboat. That's not to say you couldn't get a highly efficient trawler and move at low speeds and have it cost less than a sailboat with a lot of fancy rigging, but on average, it tends to be that sailboats are cheaper to use and maintain.
Point 7 is range and passage making. Winner is the sailboat.
Costs aside, a lot of powerboats, especially of the average cruising size, 40 to 50 feet, maybe a little bit shorter or longer, they're going to have if you're crossing an ocean, it can be difficult to fit the requisite amount of fuel on board. You're going to need bladders or cans, or you're going to need a lot of extra space for the fuel, or you'll want to change your route so that you can hit land more often and refuel more frequently. That creates an implicit limitation into the range you can get on a powerboat versus a sailboat. One quick note, maybe you guys have seen this. There's this company out there who's making these completely solar boats that have electric motors that will run purely off solar power, and because of that, they have unlimited range, and they don't have to have all the rigging and sails and stuff that you would require with sailboats in there. They're also shorter, so they have easier access on their bridges. These pure solar boats, I don't know, I think they're probably going to be a prominent thing in the future. I'll be curious to see how that technology evolves. What do you guys think about those solar boats?
Point 8 is noise. Sailboat winds. Engines are obviously noisy, so wind can be noisy, but it's not as noisy as an engine.
And you still get wind if you're pushing through on a powerboat too, so.
Point 9?
Yeah.
Point 9 is redundancy. Sailboats win.
Yep, this is pretty obvious. If your motors go out on a powerboat, you have problems. If your motor goes out on a sailboat, you have sails. If your sails go out, you have motors. And with catamarans, you have even extra redundancy because you have extra motors.
Number 10 is greenness. Sailboats win again.
Obviously, burning fossil fuels is greener than not burning fossil fuels to get around. In addition to that, with sailboats, there's this extra aspect of using wind, basically using nature as your means of locomotion. You have to be in tune with the wind, and you have to be in tune with the weather if you're going to get anywhere with sailing. That's not as true with a powerboat. You don't have to care which way the wind's coming from. So I feel like because you have to be more in tune, you have to be more at one with nature to sail, it probably creates a greener mindset for a sailor than it does for a powerboater. Not to say powerboaters can't be green, but it's going to be more top of mind for a sailor.
All right, Arya, what's the last one?
Oh, ride comfort? That's correct. Ride comfort it is. With the winner here.
Okay.
You're panting into the microphone. Ride comfort. I told you she's done. The winner here, tentatively, debatably, we'll say is sailboat. Probably depends on how much you do or don't like heeling. If you really, really, really don't like heeling and aren't going to go the way of a catamaran, then powerboat is probably the way to go. But if you're out in weather or with chop, the relationship between the wind and the sail and the keel and the water can actually smooth things out a little bit. Whereas with the powerboat, it's going to feel a little bit more energetic and lively. The bigger powerboats actually have these huge gyroscopes inside that help stabilize them, to help try to mitigate this problem. But the average cruising powerboat won't really be able to afford one of these massive gyroscopes to keep the boat stable. So because of that, we're going to say sail wins here, but I know that's going to be highly debatable, and I'd be curious to see, what your guys' thoughts are with regard to ride comfort, sailboat versus powerboat. So in summary, it really kind of boils down to the sailboats have more range and it's cheaper to get there, but the powerboats are going to be more comfortable and easier to handle. It depends on what you're doing with your boat, which will be the right solution for you. One's not better than the other. They're just different. I'd really like to say thank you for all the people who email, comment, and just message us. It's really helpful and encouraging. And it's good to get all of your varied opinions on things. We really appreciate it. And feel free to comment, email, whatever. Go to our website.
Let us know what you think. If you want to follow our journey of saving and buying a boat and our adventures with that, please like and subscribe.
That's it.
All right.
Bye.
Arya speaking to the camera.